My name is Cassandra Mitchell, but everyone calls me Cassie. I'm 23 years old, and last year my father threw me through a glass door. The next day, I took back everything they thought I didn't deserve: my future, my art, my life. My family never believed in my dreams, especially my controlling father. But that exhibition changed everything. Art wasn't just my passion, it was my salvation. Before I tell you how I turned my life around, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to hear more stories of triumph against all odds. I grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts, a picture-perfect Boston suburb with tree-lined streets and colonial-style homes. From the outside, we were the ideal American family. My father, James Mitchell, was a high-powered corporate attorney at one of Boston's most prestigious law firms. He worked 60-hour weeks and expected nothing less than perfection from everyone around him, especially his children. My mother, Stephanie, had once been a passionate art teacher with dreams of opening her own studio. But those dreams dissolved when she married my father. He convinced her that being a full-time mother was more important than any career, so she packed away her canvases and brushes, replacing them with cookbooks and cleaning supplies. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at paintings in museums with such longing that it broke my heart. Then there was my brother Ryan, 2 years older and the undisputed golden child. He was everything my father wanted in a son: athletic, academically gifted, and eager to follow in his footsteps. Ryan played 3 sports, maintained a 4.0 GPA, and planned to study pre-law. My father beamed with pride at every baseball game and debate tournament, loudly proclaiming, "That's my boy." And then there was me, the dreamer, the artist, the disappointment. I discovered my love for art when I was 7 years old. Our second-grade teacher, Ms. Garcia, gave us watercolors and told us to paint our happiest memory. While other kids painted birthday parties and Christmas mornings, I painted the sunset I'd seen at my grandmother's beach house. Ms. Garcia hung my painting in the classroom and told my mother I had exceptional talent. That night, I found my mother in the kitchen, crying. "What's wrong, Mommy?" I asked. She quickly wiped her tears. "Nothing, sweetheart. I'm just so proud of you." Later that night, I overheard my parents arguing. "She has a gift, James," my mother insisted. "We should nurture it." "Drawing pretty pictures isn't a gift," my father scoffed. "It's a hobby at best. Don't fill her head with nonsense." Despite my father's disapproval, my mother secretly encouraged my artistic development. She'd slip me art supplies disguised as birthday gifts from distant relatives. On Saturdays, when my father took Ryan to baseball practice, she'd teach me basic techniques: how to blend colors, create perspective, capture light and shadow. These stolen moments became our precious secret. When I was 10, I entered the regional school art contest and won first place. The award ceremony was scheduled on a Thursday evening. My mother promised to be there, but my father had an important client dinner and took Ryan along to see how business was done. I stood on that stage clutching my blue ribbon, scanning the audience for my mother's face. She sat in the back row, applauding wildly, tears streaming down her cheeks. That night, she helped me hide my ribbon and certificate in a shoebox under my bed, away from my father's judgmental gaze. As I grew older, my artistic style evolved. I moved beyond simple paintings to mixed media, incorporating fabric, photographs, found objects, and text into deeply personal pieces that explored themes of belonging, identity, and invisible wounds. Art became my sanctuary, the only place where I could truly express myself. High school intensified the divide in our family. While Ryan became class president and baseball team captain, I retreated further into the art room. Most days, I'd stay after school, working on projects until the janitor kicked me out. At home, dinner conversations revolved around Ryan's accomplishments and college prospects while I pushed food around my plate, invisible. Mrs. Baker, my high school art teacher, became my lifeline. She was the first person who truly saw me, not as James Mitchell's disappointing daughter, but as an artist with something important to say. Her classroom became my refuge, a place where I could breathe freely without fear of judgment. Your work has soul, Cassie, she told me during my junior year. That's something that can't be taught. When college application season arrived, Mrs. Baker pulled me aside. Have you thought about art school? I laughed bitterly. My father would never allow it. It's not his decision, she said firmly. It's yours. For the first time, someone challenged the unwritten rule in our household. What James Mitchell says goes. Mrs. Baker's words planted a dangerous seed of possibility. What if I could choose my own path? What if my dreams mattered? That evening, I researched art schools on the library computer, afraid to leave any trace on our home internet. The Harrington School of Arts in Boston called to me with its cutting-edge program and impressive alumni. Looking at student portfolios, I finally saw people like me. People who understood that art wasn't just pretty pictures, but a language of its own, a way to speak truths too complex for words. That night, I dreamed of studios filled with light, of conversations about composition and meaning, of a place where I wouldn't have to apologize for who I was. I dreamed of belonging. But dreams in the Mitchell household were dangerous things. Senior year arrived with mounting pressure. While Ryan had already secured early admission to Harvard, following our father's alma mater, I was expected to apply to business schools. My father had mapped out my future without consulting me, a business degree, followed by an MBA, then a respectable career in marketing or finance. The Mitchell name means something in this town, he reminded me constantly. We have standards to uphold. But in the privacy of the art room with Mrs. Baker's encouragement, I was preparing a different future. We selected my strongest pieces, photographed them professionally, and crafted an artist's statement that made my hands shake with its honesty. Mrs. Baker helped me complete the Harrington application, even paying the submission fee herself when I couldn't figure out how to get the money without my parents noticing. Consider it an investment, she said. Someday, I'll tell everyone I knew Cassandra Mitchell before she was famous. The day my acceptance letter arrived, I nearly collapsed in the school hallway. Not only had Harrington accepted me, but they'd offered a partial scholarship based on my portfolio. Mrs. Baker hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. So incredibly proud. I carried the letter in my backpack for 3 days, trying to gather courage. Finally, I decided to share the news during Friday night dinner, when my father was usually in his best mood after a successful week. The scene is forever etched in my memory. Our formal dining room with its heavy mahogany table, the good china that only came out for dinner guests, my mother's pot roast steaming in the center. Ryan was home from Harvard for the weekend, regaling us with stories of his political science professor who had connections to the Supreme Court. I have news, I said during a rare moment of silence. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, too high, too shaky. 3 pairs of eyes turned toward me with varying degrees of interest. I've been accepted to Harrington School of Arts. With a scholarship. The silence that followed was deafening. Art school. My father's voice was dangerously soft. When exactly did you apply to art school? My mother's face had gone pale. Ryan looked down at his plate. It's one of the best in the country, I continued, words tumbling out. Their graduates go on to work at major galleries, museums, design firms, my father's laugh cut me off, and live in apartments the size of closets, begging for handouts. James, my mother interjected softly. Perhaps we should know. His fork clattered against his plate. No daughter of mine is wasting her education drawing pictures. It's business school, as we discussed, or nothing. But I got a scholarship, I persisted. And I could work part-time enough. He slammed his hand on the table, making the silverware jump. This discussion is over. You will attend Boston University's business program as planned. I've already spoken to my friend in admissions. Hot tears pricked my eyes. You don't even care what I want. What you want, he said coldly, is to throw away your potential on a pipe dream. I won't finance that fantasy. The ultimatum came next. Business school with his financial support, or art school with nothing, no tuition help, no living expenses, no car, no phone, no safety net. At 18, with no savings and no plan, I crumbled under the pressure. 2 weeks later, I sent my regrets to Harrington and accepted admission to B's business program. That fall, I moved into a sterile dorm room and began classes in economics, marketing, and accounting. Each day felt like wearing someone else's clothes. Too tight, too restrictive, fundamentally wrong. I went through the motions, taking notes and passing tests, while a vital part of me withered. Depression settled over me like a heavy blanket. I stopped calling home. I skipped meals. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd survive 4 years of this soul-crushing conformity. My roommate, concerned about my increasing isolation, suggested the campus counseling center, but the thought of explaining my situation to a stranger seemed impossible. Instead, I found solace in the only way I knew how. Late at night, when my roommate was asleep, I'd slip out to the common room with a sketchbook. Without proper supplies or space, I created small, intense drawings, faces contorted in silent screams, birds with broken wings, doors with no handles. It wasn't healing exactly, but it kept me breathing. Then came the day I met Tyler Henderson in my business ethics class. We were paired for a project analyzing corporate responsibility cases. While researching in the library, he noticed my sketchbook peeking out from my bag. "You an artist?" he asked. I quickly tucked the book away. "No, just doodles. Mind if I see?" "I'm minoring in art history." Reluctantly, I showed him a few pages. Instead of the polite dismissal I expected, his eyes widened with genuine interest. "These are incredible," he said. "Why are you in business school?" Something about his direct question broke through my carefully constructed walls. Before I knew it, I was telling this virtual stranger everything: my father's ultimatum, the abandoned scholarship, the daily struggle of denying my true self. Tyler listened without interruption, then said something that changed everything. "There's a small gallery near campus that showcases emerging artists. My aunt's friend owns it. You should submit your work." "These are just sketches," I protested. "I don't even have proper supplies." "Then get some," he said simply. "The campus art department sells student kits. I'll loan you the money if you need it." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. That weekend, while my roommate visited her boyfriend, I transformed our dorm room into a makeshift studio. Using the basic supplies Tyler helped me acquire, I created my first real piece since leaving home, a mixed-media collage incorporating torn business textbook pages, arranged to form a caged bird. When Tyler saw it, he immediately took a photo. "I'm sending this to Maya at the gallery. Trust me." I didn't believe anything would come of it. But sometimes life surprises you in the most unexpected ways. 3 days after Tyler sent the photo, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Stepping out of my microeconomics lecture, I answered hesitantly. "Is this Cassandra Mitchell?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is Maya Winters from Catalyst Gallery. Your friend Tyler shared your work with me. I'd love to see more if you're interested." My heart nearly stopped. Maya Winters, the owner of a real gallery, wanted to see my work. I stammered out a response and arranged to meet her that weekend. Catalyst Gallery was small but prestigious, tucked between a vintage bookstore and a coffee shop in Cambridge's Arts District. The space hummed with creative energy, white walls adorned with bold contemporary pieces, track lighting highlighting textural details, the faint scent of paint and possibility in the air. Maya, a slender woman with silver-streaked hair and numerous bangles, greeted me warmly. For 2 hours, she examined the portfolio I'd hastily assembled, asking thoughtful questions about my techniques and inspirations. I found myself speaking passionately about art in a way I hadn't for months. "You have a distinctive voice," she said finally. "Raw, authentic, technically skilled but not over-polished. I'm putting together a showcase of emerging artists next month. I'd like to include 3 of your pieces." I blinked in disbelief. "Are you serious?" "Completely. It's a small exhibition, but it gets good traffic: collectors, critics, other gallery owners. It could be a valuable opportunity." Walking back to campus, I felt lighter than I had in months. This small validation from a professional confirmed what I'd always hoped: my art wasn't just a hobby or a waste of potential. It mattered. It resonated. It deserved to be seen. Reality crashed back when I calculated what I needed: quality canvas, professional-grade paints, framing materials. The supplies alone would cost hundreds of dollars I didn't have. My father monitored my bank account, questioning any unusual purchases. If he discovered I was spending money on art supplies instead of textbooks, the consequences would be severe. With Tyler's encouragement, I applied for a part-time job at the campus coffee shop. Working 20 hours a week between classes left little time for sleep, but it provided cash income my father couldn't track. I hid art supplies in my laundry basket, painted late into the night, and stored finished canvases under my bed. As the exhibition date approached, the double life took its toll. Dark circles formed under my eyes. My grades slipped. My roommate complained about the paint smell and cluttered space. But each completed piece fueled my determination. I was creating the most honest work of my life: powerful explorations of confinement, expectation, and the struggle for self-determination. 2 weeks before the exhibition, my brother Ryan made a surprise visit to campus. My roommate, not knowing our complicated history, happily told him I was at the studio space and gave directions to the empty classroom I'd been using after hours. When I returned to my dorm that evening, Ryan was sitting on my bed, one of my canvases propped against the wall beside him. "So this is why you've been ignoring Mom's calls," he said. Panic flooded my system. "Ryan, please, an art exhibition?" Behind Dad's back, he gestured to the exhibition postcard on my desk. "Are you trying to get yourself disowned?" "You don't understand," I said, closing the door. "This is important to me. What's important is not throwing away everything Dad's given you. Do you have any idea how ungrateful you seem?" His words hit like physical blows. "Given me?" He forced me into a program I hate. He crushed my dreams. He made me believe I wasn't good enough. "He's paying $30,000 a year for your education. An education I never wanted." The words exploded from me. "Not everyone wants to be like you, Ryan. Not everyone wants to follow Dad's perfect plan." My brother stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. Perhaps he was. We'd grown up in the same house, but lived in different worlds, his filled with approval and opportunity, mine with disappointment and compromise. "Please don't tell him," I whispered. "Just let me have this one thing." Ryan ran a hand through his hair, conflict evident on his face. "This exhibition is in 2 weeks?" I nodded. "And after that?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I need to do this. I need to know if I'm good enough." After a long silence, he sighed. "I won't tell Dad. But Cassie, you're playing with fire. You know that, right? Some things are worth getting burned for." He left with a warning that still echoed in my mind. He'll find out eventually. And when he does, there'll be hell to pay. Despite Ryan's ominous prediction, I threw myself into final preparations. Tyler helped me transport finished pieces to the gallery, where Maya arranged them thoughtfully alongside works by 4 other emerging artists. Seeing my art in a professional space, properly lit, perfectly hung, brought tears to my eyes. "Your work deserves to be seen," Maya said, squeezing my shoulder. The exhibition was scheduled for Friday evening. Tyler, who had become much more than a project partner, promised to be there for moral support. Something tender had been growing between us: lingering glances, casual touches, late-night conversations about dreams and fears. In another life, perhaps I would have recognized it as the beginning of love. But with the exhibition consuming my thoughts and the specter of my father's discovery looming, romance seemed like a luxury I couldn't afford. The night before the exhibition, I worked a closing shift at the coffee shop. By the time I finished cleaning espresso machines and restocking supplies, it was nearly midnight. Exhaustion dragged at my limbs as I trudged back to the dorm, but beneath the fatigue buzzed an electric current of anticipation. Tomorrow, strangers would view my art. Tomorrow, I would claim a piece of the future I wanted. I never made it to tomorrow. I knew something was wrong the moment I entered our dorm building. My roommate, Jessica, was waiting in the lobby, anxiety etched across her face. "Your dad called the room phone like 6 times, she said. "He sounded really angry. Then your brother called and said you should go home immediately." A cold weight settled in my stomach. "Did Ryan tell him?" "Tell him what?" I didn't answer, just thanked her and headed to our room. My hands trembled as I packed an overnight bag. Maybe it was a different emergency. Maybe someone was sick. Maybe. My phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. Dad knows everything. Neighbor saw gallery listing in local paper with your name. He's ballistic. Don't come home. Too late. I'd already requested an Uber. Canceling now would only delay the inevitable confrontation. Better to face it head-on and deal with the fallout before tomorrow's exhibition. The 40-minute ride to Lexington gave me time to rehearse arguments, justifications, pleas. None seemed adequate against my father's formidable anger. By the time the car pulled up to our colonial-style house, my shirt was damp with nervous sweat. All the lights were on despite the late hour. I paid the driver and stood on the sidewalk, staring at the home that had never felt like mine. Through the bay window, I could see my father pacing, drink in hand. My mother sat rigidly on the edge of the sofa. Ryan leaned against the fireplace, arms crossed defensively. Taking a deep breath, I walked up the brick pathway and opened the front door. The silence hit me first, that peculiar, charged silence before a storm breaks. My father stopped pacing and turned, his expression terrifyingly calm. So, he said, swirling amber liquid in his crystal tumbler. The artist returns. Dad, I can explain what exactly? How you've been lying to us for months. Wasting my money on finger painting while pretending to get an education. It's not finger painting, I said, immediately regretting my defiant tone. And I've maintained passing grades while working 20 hours a week. Working. His eyebrows shot up. Another lie to add to the collection. My mother finally spoke, her voice strained. James, it's late. Perhaps we should discuss this tomorrow when everyone's calmer. Stay out of this, Stephanie. He didn't even look at her. This is between me and the daughter who's been deceiving us. I glanced at Ryan, who mouthed, I'm sorry, from across the room. He hadn't betrayed me after all. The exhibition is tomorrow night, I said, finding courage somewhere deep inside. It's important to me. I'd like you all to come. My father laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. You want us to celebrate your deception? Your complete disregard for everything we've sacrificed to give you opportunities. I never asked for those particular opportunities, I countered. I've only ever wanted to pursue art. That's not a crime. No, the crime is throwing away a premium education to chase childish fantasies. His voice rose with each word. Do you have any idea how difficult it was to secure your place at BU? The strings I pulled? The favors I called in? I never asked you to do that. Because you're too immature to understand what's best for you. I'm 22 years old. I shouted back, my own anger finally breaking through. I'm old enough to decide my own future. Not while I'm paying for it, he snarled. You want to be an artist? Fine. Do it without my money. Without my car. Without my support. James, my mother interjected, rising from the sofa. You don't mean that. I absolutely do. He turned to me, eyes cold as winter. Tomorrow morning, you will call this gallery and cancel your participation. You will return to school and focus on your business studies. Or you will be completely on your own. The ultimatum hung in the air, a guillotine blade suspended over my future. For a moment, I considered surrender, retreating back into the cage of his expectations, abandoning my art once again. The familiar fear of disappointing him, of losing everything, nearly overwhelmed me. Then I thought of my paintings hanging in Catalyst Gallery. I thought of Maya's belief in my talent. I thought of Tyler's unwavering support. I thought of the countless nights I'd spent creating despite exhaustion, despite doubt, despite this very fear. No, I said, the word surprisingly steady. What did you say? I said no. I won't cancel. This is too important. His face darkened. Then get out of my house. I'll get my things in the morning. I turned toward the door, determined to leave before tears betrayed me. You'll get nothing, he growled, following me. Everything in your room, I paid for. Everything you own, I provided. I kept walking, my back to him, heading for the patio door, a shortcut to the driveway. Then I'll leave with nothing. I felt his hand grip my arm, spinning me around. Don't you dare walk away from me. Let go. I tried to pull free, but his fingers dug deeper. James. My mother rushed forward. Stop this. You've never appreciated anything we've done for you, he continued, ignoring her. Always the victim, always the misunderstood artist. I yanked my arm, finally breaking his grip. You've never seen me. Not once. Something snapped in his eyes. As I turned again toward the door, his hand struck my shoulder, shoving me forward with unexpected force. I stumbled, arms flailing, unable to catch my balance. The glass patio door shattered around me in a deafening crash. Sharp pain exploded across my skin as I fell through, landing hard on the concrete beyond. For a moment, everything went silent and still. Then the chaos erupted. My mother's scream pierced the night. Ryan shouted something I couldn't understand. Neighbors' lights flicked on. And my blood, spread in small rivulets across the patio. I lay there amid glittering shards, too shocked to move. My father stood frozen in the doorframe, the rage on his face replaced by wide-eyed horror. Cassie, he whispered. I didn't mean look what you made me do, he said, his voice strange and distant. Why do you always push me like this? In that moment, something crystallized inside me. The spell was broken. The fear that had controlled me for years evaporated, replaced by a cold clarity. This man, this angry, controlling man, had no power over my future unless I gave it to him. My mother knelt beside me, heedless of the glass cutting into her knees. We need an ambulance, she sobbed, examining cuts on my arms and face. No hospitals, I said, wincing as I sat up. I'm okay. I wasn't okay, not even close. But a hospital meant police reports and questions I wasn't prepared to answer. It meant missing tomorrow's exhibition. It meant giving him another way to control the narrative. Somehow I made it to my feet, ignoring the stinging cuts and what would later prove to be a sprained wrist. Glass tinkled as it fell from my clothes. Blood dripped onto the patio stones. This is what you wanted, my father said, his voice regaining its accusatory edge. To turn everyone against me. To play the victim. James, for God's sake, my mother hissed. Look what you've done. I limped past them both, through the house to the front door. Ryan followed, his face ashen. Let me drive you to the hospital, he pleaded. I need my phone, I said, ignoring his offer. And my wallet. He retrieved both from where I'd dropped them during the argument. Cassie, please. You're hurt. I've been hurt for years, I replied. This is just the first time it shows. Outside, I called Tyler with shaking hands. He answered on the first ring, voice thick with sleep. Can you come get me? I asked, unable to keep my voice steady. Something happened. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm at my parents' house. And no, I'm not okay. But I will be. As I waited on the curb, watching blood seep through my torn sleeve, I made a decision. Tomorrow would still be my exhibition day. And the day after that would be the first day of my real life. The one I chose for myself, the one I deserved all along. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains, momentarily disoriented. Pain quickly reminded me where I was and why. Tyler's small apartment. His couch. The glass door. Blood on concrete. Morning, Tyler said softly, appearing with a mug of coffee. How are you feeling? I sat up carefully, wincing at the protest from various cuts and bruises. Like I got thrown through a glass door. He didn't smile at my attempt at humor. We should get those cuts properly cleaned. Some might need stitches. Looking down at my bandaged arms, Tyler's amateur first aid from the night before, I saw spots of blood seeping through the gauze. The bathroom mirror revealed additional damage, a cut along my cheekbone, another near my hairline, purple bruising already forming on my shoulder and hip. The exhibition opens in 10 hours, I said. I need to be there. Tyler's expression was pained. Cassie, you need a doctor more than an art show. I can do both. He knew better than to argue. An hour later, we sat in the urgent care waiting room. The doctor, a kind woman with gray-streaked hair, listened to my story about falling through a glass storm door, with obvious skepticism. These injuries, she said carefully, examining the pattern of cuts, are consistent with someone going through glass forcefully, not accidentally falling. I met her concerned gaze without flinching. I'm aware. She seemed to understand my unspoken message. After cleaning and properly dressing my wounds, applying liquid stitches to the deeper cuts, and confirming my wrist was sprained rather than broken, she handed me her card. If you need resources, she said meaningfully, or decide to file a report, call my office directly. I thanked her and tucked the card away, knowing I wouldn't use it. Some wounds couldn't be addressed by police reports or restraining orders. By late afternoon, the physical pain had dulled to a manageable throb thanks to prescribed medication. The emotional wounds remained raw, but I channeled that pain into determination. I would stand in that gallery tonight. I would not be erased. Tyler helped me dress in the black dress and boots I'd planned to wear, now paired incongruously with white bandages and bruises. The outfit couldn't completely hide the evidence of what had happened, but I made no attempt to disguise it with makeup. Let people see. Let them ask questions. Let the truth exist in the open for once. We arrived at Catalyst Gallery 30 minutes before the official opening. Maya gasped when she saw me, rushing forward then stopping short, afraid to hurt me with a hug. What happened? She asked, eyes wide with concern. Family disagreement, I said simply. But I'm here. She squeezed my unbandaged hand. You're incredibly brave. The exhibition space looked magical. Professional lighting highlighted the textural elements of my mixed media pieces. The gallery had printed artist statements on elegant cards beside each work. Seeing my name on the wall, Cassandra Mitchell, sent a surge of pride through my battered body. At 6 o'clock, Maya unlocked the doors. People began to filter in: art enthusiasts, students, local collectors. I stood near my display, accepting congratulations and answering questions about my techniques and inspirations. No one directly mentioned my injuries, though I caught concerned glances and whispered speculations. Tyler remained protectively close, fetching water when my voice grew hoarse, steering away conversations when I needed a moment to rest. His gentle attentiveness felt like a revelation after years of my father's harsh judgment. An hour into the event, I was explaining the symbolism in my largest piece, a mixed media exploration of identity featuring fragmented mirrors and tangled red thread. When Tyler touched my arm, "Cassie," he said quietly, "your mother and Ryan just walked in." I turned to see them standing uncertainly near the entrance. My mother wore a navy dress I'd never seen before, clutching her purse like a shield. Ryan, in a button-down shirt and slacks, scanned the room with nervous energy. "Excuse me," I said to the art students I'd been speaking with. Walking toward my family felt like crossing an invisible boundary. My mother's eyes filled with tears when she saw my injuries in the gallery's bright lights. "Oh, Cassie," she whispered, reaching toward my face then dropping her hand. "You came," I said, voice tight with emotion. "Of course we came," Ryan replied. "We should have come to every art event you ever had." My mother glanced around the gallery, taking in the sophisticated space and appreciative crowd. "Your work is displayed so beautifully. Would you like me to show you around?" I offered. As I guided them through the exhibition, explaining each piece, I watched understanding dawn on their faces. My art wasn't just pretty pictures or wasted potential. It was my voice, my truth, my way of processing the world. My mother lingered before my centerpiece, a haunting exploration of silenced voices featuring delicate paper birds caught in barbed wire. "I should have fought harder for you," she said, so quietly I almost missed it. "You're fighting now," I replied. "That matters." Ryan stood awkwardly before my most autobiographical piece, a mixed media work showing a family dinner table with one chair broken and overturned. "He's not coming, is he?" I asked. Ryan shook his head. "He's furious. About everything. Everything being my existence." "No," my mother interjected. "His loss of control. He's threatening to cut you off completely, car, phone, tuition. He says you've made your choice." The threat that once would have terrified me now seemed almost laughable. "I have made my choice. Finally." Before she could respond, a distinguished man in wire-rimmed glasses approached us. "Excuse me, are you Cassandra Mitchell?" I nodded. "Nathan Powell, art critic for the Boston Arts Review. He extended his hand. I'm quite taken with your work. The emotional honesty is extraordinary. My mother and brother watched wide-eyed as this respected critic dissected the technical and thematic elements of my art, praising my sophisticated understanding of negative space and compelling visual metaphors. I'd like to include you in a feature I'm writing on emerging voices in mixed media, he concluded. And I believe Catherine Chan from Prism Gallery in the South End would be very interested in your work. May I introduce you? As Powell led me toward a stylish woman across the room, I glanced back at my mother and brother. Their expressions had transformed from sympathy to something approaching awe. For the first time, they were seeing me through outside eyes, not as the family disappointment, but as an artist worthy of recognition. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of introductions, discussions, and unexpected opportunities. Catherine Chan invited me to submit work for her gallery's upcoming show. A collector purchased my centerpiece for $800. Powell introduced me to the curator of a small museum who expressed interest in including my work in a group exhibition. By the time the event wound down, Maya was beaming. For pieces sold, including your centerpiece. Plus several serious inquiries for commissions. She handed me an envelope. Your portion of tonight's sales, minus gallery commission. Not bad for an emerging artist. Inside was a check for nearly $2,000, more money than I'd ever had at one time. As the last guests departed, my mother approached with red-rimmed eyes. Your father just texted. She hesitated. He's arranged to have your car repossessed tomorrow. And he's canceling your phone service and tuition payment. Ryan joined us, face grim. He's serious this time, Cassie. He says you can either come home tonight and fix this mess or consider yourself on your own. I looked down at the check in my hand, then around at the gallery where my art hung proudly. I am on my own. And for the first time, that feels right. My mother squeezed my hand. I'll find a way to help you. Without him knowing. No, I said firmly. I don't want you caught in the middle. I'll figure this out. As they prepared to leave, Ryan pulled me aside. There's something else you should know. Powell isn't the only one who noticed your exhibition. He showed me his phone, open to our local newspaper's website. Dad saw this article an hour ago. The small headline read, Daughter of Prominent Attorney Among Emerging Artists Featured at Catalyst Gallery. He's furious about the family name being associated with. Ryan trailed off. With art, I supplied. With creativity? With independent thought. He's threatening to come down here and put an end to this embarrassment. I should have been frightened. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Let him come. After my mother and brother left, promising to visit soon, Tyler helped Maya close the gallery. As we secured the last display lights, the front door banged open with such force that the bell nearly flew off. My father stood in the doorway, still in his work suit, face contorted with rage. Where is she? Maya stepped forward, professional smile firmly in place. I'm sorry, sir, the exhibition is closed for the evening. I'm not here for art, he spat. I'm here for my daughter. I emerged from the back room, Tyler protectively at my side. I'm right here. My father's eyes widened at the sight of my bandaged face and arms, evidence of his violence now publicly displayed. For a moment, something like shame flickered across his features. Then his jaw hardened. Get your things. We're going home. Now. No, I said simply. I'm not going anywhere with you. This childish rebellion ends tonight, he growled, stepping toward me. You've made your point. You've embarrassed the family. Enough. Sir, Maya intervened, I must ask you to lower your voice or leave. He ignored her completely. Look at yourself, he said to me. Battered and bruised, throwing away your education, your future, everything we've given you for what? To hang scribbles on a wall. The old fear tried to surface, the instinct to apologize, to placate, to shrink. But something stronger pushed it aside. Those scribbles sold for $2,000 tonight. A critic wants to feature me in the Boston Arts Review. A gallery owner in the South End wants my work. Beginner's luck, he scoffed. In 6 months, you'll be broke and begging to come home. Maybe, I acknowledged. But they'll be my choices, my consequences, my life. Not while you're spending my money. I'm not, I said, holding up Maya's check. And I'll return your car tomorrow. Keep the phone. Keep the tuition. Keep everything that comes with strings attached. His face darkened. You ungrateful little, sir. Maya's voice cut through his building tirade. This is private property, and you are harassing my artist and disrupting my business. Leave now, or I'm calling security. As if summoned by her words, the gallery's security guard appeared from his rounds. My father glanced between the guard, Maya's resolute expression, and my unbending stance. For the first time in my life, I saw him retreat. When you fail, and you will fail, don't come crawling back, he said, straightening his tie. You've made your choice. Yes, I agreed. Finally, I have. He turned and stormed out, the gallery door slamming behind him. The silence that followed felt like oxygen flooding into lungs too long deprived. Maya touched my shoulder gently. Are you okay? I nodded, surprised to find it was true. I think I am. As Tyler drove me back to his apartment, I gazed out the window at the city lights. Tomorrow would bring practical challenges, finding affordable housing, securing my own phone plan, figuring out whether to continue business school or pursue art full-time. But for tonight, I had stood my ground. I had claimed my voice. I had taken back everything they thought I didn't deserve. And that was enough to start. The morning after the exhibition, my phone buzzed with text notifications, the last messages it would receive on my father's family plan. Each one was more demanding than the last. Return the car to the house by noon. Bring all credit cards and house keys. Leave all electronics purchased with family funds. Any attempt to take property not belonging to you will be reported as theft. Tyler read over my shoulder as I scrolled through the barrage. He's really going through with it. Did you expect anything less? I set the phone aside. Will you drive me over there? I want to get my essential belongings before he changes the locks. We arrived at my childhood home just after 10. The driveway was empty, my father at work, my mother likely running errands to avoid the confrontation. Using my key for what would be the last time, I entered the silent house. What's the plan? Tyler asked, hovering uncertainly in the foyer. Take only what's undeniably mine, I replied. Clothes, personal mementos, art supplies I purchased myself. Leave everything else. In my bedroom, I filled 2 duffel bags with clothing, ignoring designer items my father had bought to impress his colleagues at firm events. I collected journals, sketchbooks, and photographs. From my desk drawer, I retrieved the cash I'd saved from barista tips, nearly $400 I'd hidden from my father's monitoring. The hardest decisions involved sentimental items. The watercolor set my mother had given me for my 12th birthday, technically purchased with family funds, but given as a personal gift. My grandmother's silver necklace, a family heirloom, but one she had specifically left to me. In the end, I took both, reasoning that some bonds transcended my father's financial control. As I packed my art supplies, Tyler called from across the room. Cassie, look at this. He discovered a storage box under my bed, one I hadn't opened in years. Inside were childhood drawings and paintings my mother had preserved, art show ribbons, teachers' notes praising my talent, even newspaper clippings from school exhibitions. At the bottom lay a sealed envelope addressed to me in my mother's handwriting. With trembling fingers, I opened it to find a letter dated from my high school graduation. My dearest Cassie, one day you'll find your way back to your art. When that day comes, I hope you'll forgive me for not fighting harder for your dreams. Know that I've always seen your talent, your passion, your beautiful way of looking at the world. Whatever path you choose, carry that vision with you. It's your greatest gift, one no one can take away. All my love. Mom. Tears blurred my vision. My mother had known all along that I would eventually reclaim my artistic voice. She had preserved evidence of my journey, quietly honoring the creative spirit my father had tried to extinguish. Take everything in this box, Tyler said softly. It's yours in every way that matters. We were loading the last bags into Tyler's car when my mother's sedan pulled into the driveway. She emerged looking exhausted, relief washing over her face when she saw me. "I was afraid I'd miss you," she said, hurrying over. "Just finishing up," I replied, gesturing to the packed car. She glanced at the house, then back at me. "I've been thinking about what you said last night, about not wanting me caught in the middle." Her voice lowered. "I've enabled his behavior for too long, Cassie. Making excuses, keeping the peace at all costs. You don't have to apologize." "Yes, I do." Her spine straightened with unexpected resolve. "I'm going to start painting again. I've already looked into studio space rental." The declaration stunned me. My mother hadn't touched a paintbrush in over 20 years. "He'll be furious," I warned. A small, sad smile touched her lips. "Probably. But watching you stand your ground last night made me realize something. I've spent decades afraid of his anger, his disappointment. And what has it gotten me? A life half lived." She reached into her purse and pressed a set of keys into my hand. "Your grandmother's cottage on Cape Cod. It's in my name, not your father's. The utilities are paid through the end of the year. It's small, and it needs work, but it has good natural light. Perfect for an artist." I stared at the keys in disbelief. "Mom, I can't accept." "You can and you will," she insisted. "It's been sitting empty since she passed." This is what she would have wanted. We embraced carefully, mindful of my injuries. "I'll visit soon," she promised. "And I'll bring your brother. He has a lot to learn from his little sister about courage." As we prepared to leave, I placed my father's car keys on the hall table alongside a handwritten note. "I'm taking back what's mine, my life, my art, my future." Tyler and I drove directly to my dorm, where I cleared out my remaining belongings and officially withdrew from Boston University. The registrar seemed unsurprised by my decision, offering information about tuition refunds and transfer options without judgment. "What now?" Tyler asked as we left campus. "Cape Cod," I replied. "I need to see this cottage." 3 hours later, we pulled up to a weathered cedar-shingled cottage nestled among scrub pines. Though small and clearly uninhabited for some time, the structure was sound. Large windows faced the ocean, capturing extraordinary light. The main room, with its vaulted ceiling, seemed designed for an artist's studio. "It's perfect," I whispered, emotions threatening to overwhelm me. As Tyler helped carry in my belongings, my phone buzzed one final time before service disconnected. A message from Maya at the gallery: "All your pieces sold. Collector Anthony Pearson bought remaining 3 at asking price. Also, Nathan Powell's review is online. Call me ASAP about job opportunity at gallery." I read the message aloud to Tyler, who whooped with excitement. Using his phone, we found Powell's review in the Boston Arts Review online edition. Among the emerging artists featured at Catalyst Gallery this month, one stands out with particular promise. Cassandra Mitchell's mixed media explorations of identity, confinement, and self-determination reveal technical sophistication and emotional depth rare in artists twice her age. Her work speaks to the universal human experience of finding one's voice amid external pressures. Mitchell is unquestionably an artist to watch. The validation from a respected critic, coming after years of being told my art was worthless, left me speechless. Tyler, understanding the magnitude of the moment, simply held me as I processed what this meant. Over the next few days, a new life began taking shape. Tyler helped me set up the cottage's main room as a studio, hanging drop cloths and arranging my limited supplies. Using the exhibition proceeds, I purchased a basic prepaid phone and opened my first independent bank account. Maya offered me part-time work at Catalyst Gallery, enough hours to cover essentials while leaving time for creating art. With Tyler commuting to the Cape on weekends, our relationship deepened beyond friendship. Our first kiss happened naturally as we watched the sunset from the cottage's small deck, the taste of salt air mingling with the sweetness of new beginnings. "I've never seen you like this," he said, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "You're luminous." I understood what he meant. Despite the lingering physical pain and financial uncertainty, I felt more alive than I had in years. Creating freely, without fear of judgment or retribution, had awakened something essential in me. 2 weeks after leaving my father's house, I met with Catherine Chen at Prism Gallery in Boston's South End. She reviewed my portfolio thoughtfully, occasionally nodding or making notes. "Your work reminds me of early Louise Bourgeois," she said finally. "The same fearless exploration of family dynamics and female identity." Coming from her, the comparison was extraordinary praise. "I'm curating a show called Emerging Voices for next spring," she continued. "I'd like to feature your work prominently, say, 8 to 10 new pieces." I'd be honored, I managed, trying to maintain professional composure despite my internal excitement. "The theme explores artists breaking conventional boundaries," she explained. "Your personal story, combined with the strength of your work, fits perfectly. Would you be comfortable with that framing?" The question gave me pause. Was I ready to publicly acknowledge the painful journey that had led to my artistic breakthrough? Before I could answer, the gallery door opened. My father walked in, his presence immediately filling the space with tension. He wore his customary business suit, but his usually impeccable appearance showed subtle signs of strain. Slightly rumpled shirt, tie slightly askew. Catherine noticed my expression. "Is everything all right?" "My father," I whispered. "I should handle this." I crossed the gallery to where he stood examining a large abstract canvas, deliberately ignoring me. "Dad," I said quietly. "What are you doing here?" He turned slowly, eyes cataloging my healing cuts. The worst of the bruising had faded, but evidence of his violence remained plainly visible. "Your exhibition was mentioned in the partners' meeting," he said stiffly. "Apparently Jeffrey's wife is on some arts council. She recognized our name." "Of course." His appearance had nothing to do with concern for me, only damage control for the family reputation. "I'm in the middle of a meeting," I said, gesturing toward Catherine. "Can this wait?" "No." His voice carried that familiar note of command. "This public rebellion has gone far enough. You've made your point. Now it's time to be reasonable." "Reasonable," I repeated, the word tasting bitter. "Like throwing me through a glass door?" His jaw tightened. "That was unfortunate. Things got out of hand." "Not an apology. Not even close." "Yes, they did," I agreed. "And they can't be undone." "Cassie," he lowered his voice, glancing at Catherine, who was pretending not to listen. "This artistic phase, fine, get it out of your system. But you need to think about your future. Your mother is worried sick. Your brother says you're living in that dilapidated cottage. That phase is my career," I interrupted. "And that dilapidated cottage is my home. I'm building the future I want, not the one you prescribed." "On what? Gallery commissions? How will you pay for health insurance? Retirement? Have you thought about any of that?" The old fear flickered, fear of failing, of proving him right. I pushed it aside. "I'm figuring it out day by day," I said honestly. "But I'd rather struggle doing what I love than succeed at something that suffocates me." Catherine approached, extending her hand to my father. "Catherine Chin, gallery owner. You must be Mr. Mitchell. Your daughter has extraordinary talent." He shook her hand automatically, lawyer's instincts taking over. "She's always been creative." "More than creative," Catherine corrected smoothly. "Cassandra has a distinctive artistic voice that's already attracting serious collectors. I've just offered her a featured position in our spring exhibition." My father's expression flickered between skepticism and confusion. The narrative he'd constructed of his foolish daughter playing at being an artist was being challenged by this polished professional. "I see," he said, clearly not seeing at all. Catherine turned to me. "I should let you two talk. Call me tomorrow about the exhibition details." After she walked away, an uncomfortable silence settled between us. My father glanced around the gallery, taking in the sophisticated space and high-priced artwork. "This is really what you want?" he finally asked. "It's what I am," I replied. "It's what I've always been if you'd bothered to look." He straightened his tie, retreating behind his professional facade. "Your mother wants to know if you'll come for dinner Sunday. Your brother will be there." Not an olive branch exactly. Not an apology or acknowledgement. But perhaps a tiny crack in his armor. "Just dinner," I clarified. "No ultimatums, no lectures. Just dinner," he agreed stiffly. As he turned to leave, I called after him. Dad, the exhibition opens April 15th. If you want to see what I've been trying to show you all these years. He didn't respond, just nodded almost imperceptibly before walking out. I watched him go, feeling neither triumph nor anger, just a quiet certainty that whatever happened next, I would face it on my own terms. I had reclaimed my voice, my art, my future, and no one could take that away again. 6 months passed in a blur of creative productivity. The cottage transformed from a neglected family property into a vibrant living space reflecting my artistic sensibility. I painted the walls white to maximize natural light, furnished the rooms with thrift store finds, and converted the largest space into a proper studio with adequate ventilation and storage. Working part-time at Catalyst Gallery provided steady income and valuable connections in the art world. Maya became both mentor and friend, teaching me the business side of art, how to price work, approach galleries, build a professional portfolio. Under her guidance, I developed a website showcasing my growing body of work. My relationship with Tyler deepened despite the geographical challenge of his final semester at Boston University. He made the 90-minute drive to Cape Cod every weekend, often bringing supplies I couldn't find locally. We talked about him potentially moving to the Cape after graduation, perhaps opening a small design studio that could complement my artistic career. My mother visited regularly, sometimes alone, sometimes with Ryan. True to her word, she had rented studio space in Cambridge and resumed painting after a 20-year hiatus. Her work, delicate watercolor landscapes, lacked technical confidence, but showed genuine emotional depth. We sometimes painted together, mother and daughter reclaiming creative voices long suppressed. My father remained a complicated absence. He hadn't attended the family dinners my mother arranged, always claiming work commitments. Ryan reported that he rarely mentioned me at home, as if erasing me from family narratives. Though the silence hurt, it also provided space to heal without his disapproving presence. The approaching Prism Gallery exhibition consumed my creative energy. Catherine had requested 10 new pieces exploring themes of breaking and rebuilding. Inspired by my own journey, I conceptualized a series titled Reconstructed, works incorporating actual broken glass alongside other media, transforming destruction into beauty. The centerpiece would be a life-size self-portrait constructed on a salvage door, embedded with shards of mirror arranged to reflect light rather than cut. The technical challenges were significant, requiring careful handling of dangerous materials while creating something structurally sound and visually compelling. 3 weeks before the exhibition, I was applying resin to secure glass fragments when someone knocked on the cottage door. Expecting Tyler, I called, "It's open." The door creaked open, but instead of Tyler's familiar footsteps, I heard a hesitant shuffle. Turning, I found my brother standing awkwardly in the doorway, clutching an envelope. "Ryan, I wasn't expecting you." I set aside my tools and pulled off my work gloves. "Sorry to drop in unannounced." He surveyed the studio space, eyes widening at the scale and complexity of my work in progress. "Wow, this is intense." "Thanks, I think." I smiled, gesturing toward the kitchenette. "Coffee?" "Actually, I can't stay long." He held out the envelope. "Dad asked me to give you this." My stomach tightened. "What is it?" "A letter. He's been working on it for weeks, apparently. Keeps writing drafts, throwing them away, starting over." I accepted the envelope warily, noting my name written in my father's precise handwriting. "Did he say why?" Ryan shrugged. "You know, Dad, emotionally articulate isn't his strong suit. But Mom thinks your exhibition announcement triggered something." I'd sent formal invitations to my parents 2 weeks earlier, more as a gesture than with any expectation they would attend. My mother had immediately called to confirm she would be there. My father had maintained radio silence. "Should I read it now?" I asked. "Up to you." Ryan glanced at his watch. "I told him I'd deliver it, not that I'd watch you read it." After he left, I stared at the unopened envelope for nearly an hour, simultaneously dreading and curious about its contents. Finally, sitting on the cottage's small deck overlooking the ocean, I broke the seal. The letter was surprisingly long, 3 pages of my father's meticulous handwriting, with several crossed-out phrases and rewritten sentences. Cassandra, I've started this letter 17 times. Words have always come easily to me in the courtroom, but I find myself struggling to express what needs to be said between father and daughter. First, regarding the incident with the glass door. My behavior was inexcusable. Not an accident or a misunderstanding, but a failure of the worst kind. No provocation justifies a father harming his child. For that, I am deeply sorry. Your mother suggests I'm writing this because of your upcoming exhibition, and perhaps she's right. Seeing the invitation forced me to acknowledge what I've been avoiding. You've succeeded precisely where I predicted you would fail. You've built a life on your own terms, pursuing the path I dismissed as impractical fantasy. I've spent my career judging situations, making definitive assessments based on available evidence. In your case, I was wrong. Spectacularly, fundamentally wrong. Not just about your artistic potential, but about what constitutes a worthwhile life. My own father believes success came in only one form, financial security, through conventional professional achievement. I adopted his metric without question, imposing it on you without considering your unique gifts. In doing so, I nearly destroyed something precious. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not sure I deserve it. But I want you to know that despite my catastrophic failure to show it, I have always been proud of your determination and courage, qualities that ironically enabled you to break free from my destructive influence. If you're willing, I would like to attend your exhibition. Not to reconcile. That would be presumptuous, but to finally see what you've been trying to show me all these years. Your father. James Mitchell. I read the letter 3 times, emotions shifting with each reading. Skepticism giving way to cautious belief in his sincerity. Not quite an apology, not quite a reconciliation, but acknowledgement. After years of dismissal, he was finally seeing me. That evening, I called my mother. Dad's letter, I said without preamble. Is it genuine? She sighed deeply. As genuine as he's capable of being right now. He's struggling, Cassie. Not just with you, but with himself. The incident forced him to confront aspects of his character he's never examined. Do you think I should respond? That's entirely your decision, she said carefully. But yes, I think it represents real change, however imperfect. After considerable thought, I sent a brief email to my father's work address, the only contact information I had. Dad, thank you for your letter. The exhibition opens at 7 p.m. on April 15th. If you decide to come, I'll have your name on the guest list. Cassie. The days before the exhibition passed in a flurry of final preparations. Catherine arranged for professional installation of my pieces, transforming my raw, emotional work into a cohesive gallery experience. Advance press was encouraging. Powell's preview mentioned my innovative integration of broken materials as metaphor for personal reconstruction. On preview night, I stood in Prism Gallery surrounded by my completed series. The space hummed with critics, collectors, and fellow artists circulating with wine glasses, examining my work from various angles. Tyler stayed close, his quiet pride more validating than any critical praise. Your door piece is generating the most conversation, Catherine reported, guiding me toward a cluster of visitors gathered before my centerpiece. Pearson is considering it for his permanent collection. The life-sized mixed-media piece, officially titled Threshold, depicted a human figure emerging through a broken door, fragments transforming from sharp, dangerous shards near the frame to luminous, jewel-like elements as they incorporated into the figure's form. Pain becoming beauty. Destruction becoming creation. At 8:30, as I was explaining my technique to an interested collector, Tyler touched my elbow. Cassie, he whispered. Your father just walked in. My heart hammered as I turned toward the entrance. My father stood just inside the doorway, looking uncharacteristically uncertain in his tailored suit. He scanned the room until his eyes found mine, then nodded almost imperceptibly. Excuse me, I murmured to the collector. There's someone I need to greet. Walking toward my father felt like crossing years of emotional battlefield. He watched my approach with an expression I'd never seen before, something between apprehension and respect. "You came," I said simply. "Yes." He glanced around the sophisticated gallery space. "Impressive venue. Catherine Chen is one of the most respected gallerists in Boston," I replied, professional pride momentarily overshadowing personal tension. "Being featured here is a significant opportunity." He nodded, gesturing toward the crowded room. Quite a turnout. The awkward small talk threatened to derail the moment's potential significance. Taking a deep breath, I addressed the elephant in the room. "Would you like to see my work? That's why I'm here." I led him through the exhibition, explaining each piece's concept and technical elements. He listened attentively, occasionally asking surprisingly perceptive questions about my choices of materials or compositional strategies. When we reached threshold, he fell silent, studying the life-sized piece with unreadable expression. "This is about that night," he finally said, voice low. "The glass store." "Yes," I acknowledged, "but also about what came after. How breaking can lead to becoming something stronger, something more authentic." He stared at the transformed glass fragments, dangerous edges now capturing and reflecting light in unexpected ways. "Your mother always said you saw the world differently." He cleared his throat. I should have listened to her. The statement, simple but profound coming from him, created a tiny fissure in the wall between us. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. "Cassandra." Catherine approached with a distinguished older man. "Anthony Pearson would like to discuss acquiring Threshold for his permanent collection." My father stepped back. "I'll let you attend to business." "Wait," I said impulsively. "Will you stay?" "For a while." Something like hope flickered across his face. "If you'd like me to." I would. The remainder of the evening unfolded with a surreal quality, my father witnessing my professional interactions, hearing critics praise my artistic vision, watching collectors compete for my work. Not reconciliation, but recognition. For the first time, he was seeing me in my element, acknowledged by the world on my terms. When the event concluded, he approached as Tyler and Catherine helped close the gallery. "Congratulations," he said formally. "You've clearly found your calling." "Thank you for coming," I replied. "It meant a lot." He nodded, hesitating before adding, "Your mother mentioned you're teaching a workshop for young artists next month." "At the Community Arts Center, yes. Finding your voice through mixed media." "That seems appropriate." The ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You've certainly found yours." 6 weeks later, I stood before a group of aspiring artists at the Cape Cod Community Arts Center. The workshop had filled quickly, 20 students ranging from teenagers to retirees, all seeking creative expression. "Art isn't just about technical skill," I told them, gesturing toward the sample pieces displayed around the room. "It's about authenticity. About translating your unique perspective into visual language." I moved toward Threshold, which the Pearson Collection had generously loaned for educational purposes before its installation in their permanent gallery. This piece began with destruction, literal and metaphorical. A moment when everything shattered. I ran my fingers along the transformed glass elements. But the breaking wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something new. A young woman raised her hand. "How did you know you could make something beautiful from something so painful?" The question resonated beyond art technique, touching the deeper journey that had brought me to this moment. "I didn't know," I answered honestly. "I just knew I had to try." Sometimes the most powerful art comes from our deepest wounds, not because suffering itself is valuable, but because transformation is. As the workshop continued, I guided participants through creating their own mixed media pieces incorporating personal narratives. Moving among their workstations, offering suggestions and encouragement, I recognized in many of them the same hunger for authentic expression I'd once suppressed. My mother arrived as the session concluded, bringing fresh-baked cookies and quiet pride. We developed a new relationship these past months, artist to artist, woman to woman, gradually healing the fractures of our shared past. "How did it go?" she asked, helping arrange refreshments for the departing students. "Really well," I replied. "Several have real potential. They have an excellent teacher." She squeezed my hand. Oh, I almost forgot. Your father asked about your next exhibition. I paused, surprised. What did you tell him? The truth, that you're preparing work for a show in New York this fall. Her eyes twinkled. He looked it up online after we spoke. Said he might have business in the city around that time. Not a promise. Not complete reconciliation. But another small step forward. Later that evening, as Tyler and I walked along the beach near the cottage, I reflected on the journey of the past year. From being thrown through glass to creating art that transformed brokenness into beauty. You know what amazes me most? I said, watching the sunset paint the ocean in fiery hues. Not the exhibitions or sales, but the fact that I finally believe in my own voice. Tyler wrapped his arm around my shoulders. Everyone else sees what I've always seen in you. The talent was never the question, just whether you'd get the chance to share it with the world. We stopped walking, facing the expansive horizon. The cottage lease is up next month, I said. I'm thinking about buying it, making it permanently mine. Big step. It feels right. This place, it's where I found myself again. I turned to face him directly. Would you consider making it yours too? After graduation. His smile answered before his words. Nothing would make me happier. As twilight deepened around us, I thought about the email I'd received that morning. An invitation to speak at a conference for young artists about finding authentic creative expression. The theme, breaking boundaries, building futures. I'd broken through the boundaries others had set for me. I'd reclaimed everything they thought I didn't deserve: my voice, my vision, my right to define success on my own terms. The journey hadn't been easy, and some wounds would always leave scars, visible and invisible. But those very wounds had shaped my art, my perspective, my capacity for empathy. Sometimes being broken is the beginning, not the end. Sometimes the most beautiful light shines through the places where we've been shattered and carefully, lovingly rebuilt. So what about you? Have you ever had to fight for your own dreams against others' expectations? Have you transformed pain into something meaningful? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've reclaimed what's rightfully yours. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this resonated with you, and thank you for being part of this journey with me. Remember, your voice matters and your story deserves to be told.